The Weekly Warp Pipe.
What's up, my Warp Pipers? I know we love retro video games. We play them a ton. But why do we keep going back to them? It's 2025. PS5 is out and Switch 2 is on the way. But we keep going back to these retro games. We're going to dive into that for our main topic, as well as the Warp Pipe rental, where we're talking about Captain America and the Avengers. Did you guys play it? David's back with 3 more movie quotes for us, and he went with a theme. Can you guess it? We take a few voicemails from you guys, and one of them sparks a conversation of our top 3 gaming conventions. We're gonna break some hearts, and I'm on the fence what I should choose for my number 1. And finally, we're premiering a new segment called the Vintage Toy Box, where we'll showcase a toy from the past, give you the history, the origins, personal connection, and pop culture impact. We decided to go with Mad Balls. Gross. Okay, guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy some nostalgia. And let's jump in the Warp Pipe. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the weekly Warp Pipe. What's going on, guys?
How's everyone's week going? What's everyone been up to? I was playing quite a lot of Game Boy games this week. Played some Nintendo games too. But trying to get some videos together, looking at some of these games and kind of seeing if any of them are any good or not. Some Game Boy games might not be the best ones, but that's what I've been up to. What about you guys?
Well, let me ask you, have you been playing the Game Boy games on the Game Boy, or are you putting it in the player and playing it on the TV?
So I have been playing them on the TV a little bit, but I do have this fancy dancy modded out Game Boy Advance that I've been playing some of them on. I take them to work and just kind of play them while I'm waiting for one thing or the other to happen. So I have been playing a little bit of handheld on it, and they're enjoyable. I like playing them on this one. I don't know, that old green screen, a little hairy sometimes in some of these games.
Yeah, I have one of the analogs.
Oh, the analog ones?
Yeah,
the
I
fancy
have one of those. Yeah, it's fancy. I actually prefer. I might actually invest in one of those Game Boy Advances though, when they're all modded up, because those are nice. They do a nice job on those.
That's what I have. Yeah, I have one of those, and then I did order. You can order a special. It's a new board with this screen for the original Game Boy, and it replaces the old board, and you just have to solder in the speaker, but it ends up giving you a backlight screen that if you press the I think the tint button in, it changes color. So you can do a red screen, a blue screen, whatever color screen. And so I've been playing a little bit like that for like original factor, but I do like the Game Boy Advance like Keith has for it's being wide instead of being so
and it's got some real good color. You're not going to see that on there, but it's got some real good colors to it. It's honestly, I think one of my favorite things that I've purchased in the last year or two.
Where'd you get it?
Super fun. Got it on eBay. Yee.
Nice. Ooh.
Well, hey, I was gonna say, check out the new swag. We got the weekly Warp Pipe hat in.
That looks nice.
With
that's awesome.
New logo and everything. He sent
what
me
color is underneath?
2 of them. The brim just
green. Cool.
So
nice. Matches the nice pipe.
Yeah. I got one for you, Dave, and then if Keith, you wanted to get one, I'll order another one when it gets closer to Retro World when you'll be in Connecticut. I could get it
for sure, yeah. Absolutely. That'd be awesome. Those look pretty good looking.
Yeah, he ended up sending me this. The Retro Stitch is his Instagram handle, the Retro Stitch, if you want to follow him. He's got tons of awesome hats. Like I picked up a Virtual Boy hat, a Metroid hat. He's got beanies with Game Boy Color stitched on. Everything's real high quality. But he also sent me 2 patches for the weekly Warp Pipe. So I may just like boom, glue it on a jacket and call it a day and have a weekly Warp Pipe blazer or something.
Nice.
So some of his stuff is pretty awesome for sure.
Yeah. So I haven't been up to much, to be honest with you. I feel like we've done pretty well with getting a couple of things streamlined for the podcast. So I don't feel like I'm putting in like 10-hour days anymore for it. So, which is nice. So now I'm just popping things in, popping things out. We've kind of come up with a schedule of some stuff and worked out all the kinks and things like that. So I figure we're in a good place moving forward with posts and videos and all that good stuff. and something came in the mail today, and that is, hang on, it's very, very heavy, guys. It is my Sheikah slate.
Thing is a beast.
That's
It is
crazy.
20
What do you,
pounds.
I was gonna say, what do you say? It weighs 20 pounds.
It
My
weighs
God.
20 pounds. Here, let me turn it on for you.
Yeah, let's
And
see
then when
this
you,
thing.
so you got it plugged in here, and then you lift it up, and it's got all the sounds in it. And then on the back side, it's got this nice
Oh,
screen.
okay.
And if you tap the back here,
Yeah. Let's see if you can
it
do
will
it. Oh, it
change
changed color.
orange.
Yeah.
And so you just pop it right in there, and there you go.
I
I
wish.
don't know where I'm gonna put it yet, but this thing is huge. Like, I don't know if you could measure this, but like, look, like it's my entire
It's a
torso.
fruit basket.
It's great though. I love it so much.
I was gonna say, I wish it had something that you could put the Wii U gamepad like
Oh
on it,
yeah,
so it's
huh?
almost functional too, so you could like pull it out, gonna play the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. No, but I pre-ordered that maybe, I mean, whenever it went up for pre-order, and I did the payment plan because it requires a payment plan. And but I didn't know that it was arriving. I must have missed the email saying that it was delivered, and showed up on the doorstep, and I was super excited. I couldn't wait to get that thing open. So
What's
that's
the company again?
oh, this is the first four figures.
Okay.
SKU. I currently have up there. I have also the Hylian Shield and the which actually I picked up with you, Russ, at one of the Kinetic Cons or something like that. A couple,
Okay.
and then I also have the Tears of the. I'm sorry, the Breath of the Wild. I think it's Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild, Zelda and Link that lights up. The base lights up, and he's shooting the arrow that lights up and stuff like that. So I
Nice.
want to put it on that shelf, but I don't
Mhm.
think it's gonna handle the weight, to be honest. So I gotta figure it out.
Gotcha.
What do you?
Reinforce it.
What's going on with you, Russ?
Working on things, obviously, always going. I got a new video out on the channel when you're hearing this now. I was putting together a shelf with all my NES games. I kind of wanted to put them all in one area because I've been doing that series Nintendo, where I'm going through all the NES games, kind of like a Let's Play, but with some added bonus stuff in there. And I have kept having to go to my like big yellow bin, dig it out, look for the game. And I was like, you know what? Let me put it over here. And in the game room, I have it kind of mirrored. There's another bookshelf here. So there's two of them. It's okay. It works. I probably
Mhm.
won't leave the games there, but it's something for now because again, I'm gonna have to make a lot of the furniture in here custom to fit the space so I can take advantage of every square inch. I just kind of brought over all the furniture that was at my mom's house from the game room and then at the condo from the game room and just kind of making it work. So, a couple projects here and there each day. And that was fun. I got that coming out. And then I also was working on my Pac-Man cabinet. I got a
Mm.
Pac-Man arcade cabinet. It's actually a Pac-Man Plus cabinet. I don't know if anyone ever heard of Pac-Man Plus before. I hadn't, but it's a harder game. But I put a Miss Pac-Man board in there, but I also have the Pac-Man Plus board if I want that option. So a
Mm.
video on that I think is going to come out next week of me kind of restoring that a little bit. So I'm hoping to get maybe 2 videos out a week with the Nintendo series. I'm going to streamline that. So those will be coming out. And then if I can do like a DIY or whatever. And I still have to edit my Algo, the swap meet video that we
Oh,
went
right.
to. So that's kind
Yeah.
of, that happened like 2 weeks ago. So I'm kind of falling
Mhm.
behind on that. But you only have so much time, right? Gwen's napping for like
Mhm.
3 to 4 hours. It's like, okay, I have to film this, edit this, get
Right.
this before she gets up, or I stay up late or get up early on my days off and come in here and edit for a few hours. So it's
Mhm.
definitely, trying to keep track of time and get everything done.
Those shelves that you have
Definitely.
that have the Nintendo games, do you still have the shelves that were at your old apartment? It was the two-family house that you had built for the walls?
I actually left those there. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay, 'cause those were nice for games.
They were, yeah. I did a build video on that. I had we were renting a house, and I
Mhm.
did a video on the bookshelves, and then I made an entertainment unit in the middle.
Right,
This was
right.
probably, gosh, I don't know,
Gotta be at
7,
least
10 years ago.
yeah, yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but the bookshelves I made according to like I put an NES game, measured the height, so it's like perfect for
Right,
that. And how
yeah.
many box games, like it's only the height for the box. And the main thing is when you buy like bookshelves, they're always too deep. So these were
Mhm.
like uh just enough to like fit the game so they weren't taking up
Right.
too much space. And they fit perfectly on the side of 2 windows that we had. So I just
Mhm.
ended up leaving them there. I was like, where am I gonna fit these? These are custom made.
Right, and Keith, I don't know, you've never seen them before, but they actually went didn't they go from, like, the floor to the ceiling almost?
Yeah, I could
Pretty
probably
high.
dig up a video if I pop into my YouTube account. And I ended
Yeah.
up anchoring them to the trim to the window
Right, I remember,
this
yes.
way
Okay.
because they
Yeah.
were so tall and the
Mhm.
floor wasn't that level. So I
Right.
had to essentially do that. Let's see, what would it be? Gaming
So it wasn't coming at you.
workspace. Right,
No, they
right.
were really nice too. I mean, I remember the video that you had out for them as well. But
Jeez, I can't even
but Keith, they would
custom.
fit like you would put the side label in and they would fit very, perfect size.
Nice.
And I think you might have also made a couple shelves that fit like CIB boxes as well. So I think he had a couple
Wow.
of variations. But
You're
yeah,
quite the
super
handyman,
fun.
eh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
my wife too, she's got quite a few tools in her arsenal.
Hmm.
When we're gonna be doing some of this DIY stuff here, she has like a chop saw, she's got a um what the heck is it called?
A table saw,
It's not a table saw, but you put down a track saw. You put down a
track
track
saw.
and then you can run it across. So we gotta shorten some of the doors here because they're hitting the carpet. So she's like, we gotta take the doors off and track
Yeah.
saw it on that. So I was like, oh, okay. And she
Nice.
wants
Hmm.
to try to get. We have a huge piece of plywood that's pretty beefy. We want to try to bring it up here as a substitute to make our DIY table. She's gonna get some
Hmm.
different material to be the top, but she's like, just for now, like behind me, it's gonna be the DIY area. So once she
Nice.
gets that going, then the game room gets a little bit more organized, essentially.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I can't
It's
find
like
this freaking video too.
we all had eventful weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
Very true.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna say, yeah, this is
Hmm.
gonna annoy me. I'm trying to dig up that video, Dave, and I can't remember what I named it. I'm trying to put bookcase
That's all right. We'll
and
leave it
nothing's
in the
coming up.
comments below. The
Yeah.
description below. Check it, guys.
The
We'll put it in there.
description below. Are we missing anything else out? I don't think anything else.
No, it's
I got nothing.
No,
no, we're good.
good to
Let's
go.
get into it.
Let's get into it.
All right, so we're gonna do our warp pipe rental right now. So each week we're going to pick a game and play it like we rented it for the weekend. See what our thoughts are. Check it out, and we encourage you guys to participate along with us. If you have the game, if you have the ability to play it, check it out, play it. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll maybe read them on here. See what you thought about it. Let's check out what we thought about it.
Let's head to the video store, grab a game for the weekend. We have the box art and description to guide us when we're choosing what game to rent. So grab your rental card because this is the Warp Pipe Rental.
What game you rent for the weekend?
Nice. So this past weekend, we thought it'd be appropriate because the new Captain America movie had come out. So we rented Captain America and the Avengers on Sega Genesis. Certainly love the cover to this here. It's got Captain America on there. You can see Ultron, Vision, Red Skull, Hawkeye, Iron Man. I don't know who the other guy is, but
Crossbone at the bottom or something like
yes,
that,
yeah, I
I
believe
think.
that might be
Yeah,
Crossbone. I don't
That
know who the guy
uh,
here is with the green punching Iron Man.
I'm not sure. They kicked my butt in the game, so I never got to figure out who he was.
But the back of the box says out of the arcades and into your Genesis, because this was a arcade game, which definitely would be, a quarter muncher. A lot of these beat 'em up games are. You can choose between four different characters in the game. You can play as Iron Man, Captain America, Vision, and Hawkeye. But there were also appearances by other comic book characters that would help
Mhm.
you. Quicksilver would run by and give you some energy. Wonder Man, and you even did a stage where the Wasp was kind of flying with you. At
Yes.
least to
Mhm.
the stages that I went through. So that was kind of cool to see some of them on there.
Well, what did you
Um,
guys think of it?
yeah. Who wants to go?
Keith, you go. What's
You
your
go.
I'll go. It was maybe a little difficult. I don't know. I felt like I was sometimes punching them and they weren't. I wasn't hitting them like I thought I was. I think you had to be
Okay.
lined up with them really good sometimes.
Mhm.
And when I got to the second level where it was like that shoot 'em up style, I started with Captain America because Captain
Mhm.
America is my choice for most games I'm playing, and he's an option. So I'd swapped over to Vision when I got to that point, and I felt like that was a good choice, and that second level, I kinda started to enjoy a little bit more, and the
Okay.
third level, I got my butt kicked. Pretty good, yeah.
What level were you playing? Like difficulty level were you playing on? Normal.
Oh, I don't even know, I didn't even change that.
Oh, so
Yeah,
I
me
maybe.
didn't
neither.
see that because I was playing it on the computer, right? So, again, using the
Oh,
keyboard trying
right.
to
Yeah,
figure it
yeah.
out, but I didn't even see that
We
when I
gotta
signed into it.
we gotta get you one of those Bluetooth controllers, I'm telling you.
Right? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be fun. They make the NES ones, the 8-bit Dough ones, so, yeah, we gotta
Yeah,
get you one. I wonder if
I'll have to
the
figure it out.
Nintendo, the Switch controllers work with it, the ones that you can buy from Nintendo that
Maybe.
actually look like the NES and their SNES controllers. They're just wireless.
Mhm.
I wonder if my Xbox controller would work. I might have to
Oh,
try that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Hmm,
Bluetooth, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
Give
I
it a
mean, use
shot.
that PS3 or PS4 controller
right?
would link to your
Mhm.
Guess I'll see how
computer.
that goes. I wonder if it'll work with the
Yeah,
joystick.
yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what I noticed about this game too is like the one thing that because we just got done playing Streets of Rage, so this is kind of a similar style
Right, I
game
didn't
where
even think of that when we chose it. I was like, we should have broken
yeah,
it up more, then go beat 'em
I
up.
mean,
Next week, beat 'em up.
but I'm glad that we did because it kind of like first off you realize how awesome of a game Streets of Rage 2 is. And although like this game could be fun. This could I mean, there were moments like when I was in the second level when you were doing like that flying part. That was super fun. I did have a good time doing that kind of dodging and weaving and doing all that stuff with the enemies. But I feel like first off, every single time you got hit,
Mhm.
you like got thrown back and like took a second for you to get back up. And it was
Yep,
like
yep.
literally one hit. It was like not even, oh, they hit you a couple times and then you fall over. No, it was one hit and you were like tossed aside. And so, like, it really slowed the game down a lot, and I think that that got a little frustrating just because you're like, you wanna play the game. I don't think that I experienced the same hitbox as you, Keith, um,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I did play it on a Sega Genesis, so I was right through my CRT, um, but I don't know, maybe yeah, like, if you get hit I played as Iron Man. I figured
Okay.
Iron Man would be a good way to go, so I'm glad, Keith, that you played as somebody else too. Um But yeah, I don't feel like it was clunky, but it was definitely like it wasn't like smooth. I don't know how I'm trying to describe it, but like it just you did have to line up a little bit, but I don't think it was terrible.
Okay.
No.
It was okay for me, if I'm
Were
being
you
honest.
having issues when I was Vision? I played as all the characters because I kept
Right.
on dying. So I was
Mhm.
jumping up and doing, like, the shot, like, the horizontal or
Yes,
the
yes,
Mhm.
that
yes.
angle. That's when I
Yep.
was kinda having a hard time hitting some of the guys. I was like, "Come on, let's go," and then they whack me because I landed
See,
right.
I feel like I was doing pretty good with that actually.
Yeah.
Like coming
Hmm.
up and then going like kind of diving down on them. I feel like I did okay on that, but
And it
I
might
don't
have been
know.
because I wasn't using a controller, right?
Could be. Yeah, 100%. What about you, Russ? What did you think?
A couple notes I put. I did like that there was like comic book scene intros to each level, like it was a page
Mhm.
out of the comic, and it kind of
Yeah.
got you pumped for like, okay, this is what we're getting into. The voice sampling was okay. Like it had some voice acting, like sample things in there, so you heard your characters come to life.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, I'd see. And I thought it was again with this comic book feel, when you were like punching the people, words would appear. So kind of reminded me of like the old Batman, like bam, pow, swap,
Right.
all that stuff. So it's like, all right, they're leaning into the comic book phase of that. And let's see, the shooting levels again, I guys mentioned, I thought that was a good switch up. So it's not
Mm,
all beat 'em up. And if you were a
right.
character that couldn't fly, like if you weren't Vision or um, Iron Man, you would just ride in like a mobile thing.
Well, Iron Man flew.
Right. So I said Vision and
Yeah.
Iron Man would fly.
Oh, I
If you
Hawkeye,
see.
were
I see. I see.
Hawkeye or
Hawkeye and Cap
Captain
would have
America.
been
Oh, I see.
And then it does go to like an underwater level where you would do similar under the water instead of flying. So I thought that was
Mhm.
kind of neat. And then what else did I put here? So I didn't know any of the mid bosses or the regular
Mhm.
bosses. Like they didn't spark any like memory of like hearing about
Right.
them. The only one was Ultron. When I got to him, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, Ultron. I remember him, but no one else. I'm like, who are these characters? I've never heard
Yeah.
of these characters. So that kind of dropped the ball on that. And I said, I wish there were more moves that you can do. I kind of
yeah.
felt bullied by the enemies coming out. You get hit and then bounce back, and then you're like, all right, I got to get up again. You could get like a few hits in, boom, you get
Right.
hit again, and I would just
Yeah.
go through I was playing on easy. I put as much
Okay.
as lives as I could. I think it was 7 or whatever. So I did change characters
Mhm.
a little bit, but
Which
kind of
actually,
difficult.
when you mentioned the lives, I was
Hmm.
reading the manual because I actually I do have a copy of this,
Nice.
and when I was reading the manual, um, I believe it said that you get a certain amount of continues, and if you pull up the gameplay again, you'll notice at the top it'll say C equals 7.
Yes.
So you technically only get 1 life, but 7 continues.
Oh, that's how they split it. Okay.
Isn't that
And
that so
the
that so that's pretty interesting the way they.
like taking damage was interesting too, because like I didn't see a bar that was like, oh, I've got this much health left, right? But
No, it's the
their
number.
Yeah,
picture at the
28 right
top
now.
Yeah.
and the top, the picture keeps changing, like you start to get more damaged, I think, from what I
Oh,
could
like
Oh, I
tell.
never
his
noticed
picture,
that.
maybe? Like
Yeah,
the
I think
Doom
that's
guy?
what I saw. Yeah, because Vision I turned to red. Yeah, right
Oh,
there you
yeah,
Oh,
go.
see,
So I
right,
can
he
see?
see
just
how he's
changed. Yeah, okay.
yeah. So
I
that's
just
an
noticed the
interesting and
number
neat
going down.
thing. And I didn't even notice the number because I was watching I didn't know what the number meant. I didn't realize that was your health. I
Yeah.
was watching the face.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Some
I
strange
think this one's
options for sure.
on Super Nintendo too.
Yeah, I did
Yeah,
notice. I
Yeah,
I had the copy on Sega, so I just suggested it on Sega, so it's like, okay. So
yeah,
maybe it
yeah,
plays slightly different on Super Nintendo, but
yeah.
that's the
yeah.
one we chose there. So
So what do you guys,
what are we gonna
what
rate
do you
it,
wanna rate
right?
it?
What are we gonna rate it?
Go ahead,
I'll
Keith.
go.
What do you
I'll
got?
go
Alright.
first since he's thinking there. Um, Again, since playing it back to back to Streets of Rage, I'm gonna give this one a 3 star. I think 3 stars is it's enjoyable. Could be better.
Okay. I'm gonna go
David?
2.5
2.5.
because if you do compare, I mean, in my mind, like, I'm also going by the fun level, so, like, compared to Streets of Rage, I just didn't have as much fun with it. The music was just kind of bland. Um, Maybe because I'm so used to, like, epic soundtracks with, like, the Marvel movies. This one just seemed eh. Um, and yeah, I was kinda like, "Alright, I'm playing the game.
It's here. It
I'm
exists.
alright, it exists." And which is a bummer too because I bought it because it was recommended to me, and I don't think I ever played it until now.
Till now. What
So
about
if
you,
anyone
Keith?
needs a copy, let me know.
I like the box art on it for sure. The box art looks good. on the Sega with that shine on it. I'd give it a 3. It wasn't the worst Captain America game I've played, but definitely wasn't the best. It'd probably be fun on the arcade though.
Sure. Right. Maybe better voice acting and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We do have a few comments from you guys, so we'll see what you guys had to say about this game here.
What did you say? What did you say?
Springfield, let's hear from you.
Let's jump over to, let's see. I have, I think, one on Facebook. Yeah. Matthew Durkin said, I gave this a shot a couple times this weekend. Lost to Crossbones on my first playthrough, and then to Red Skull on the second. It was a fun beat 'em up, but that dialogue was hilariously bad. They also should map the special attack to the C button rather than to jump and attack together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I had trouble pulling that off. Like, if you hit both buttons together, you would be able to throw, like, Cap Shield or whatever.
Right.
It's like, you got 3 buttons on the Sega Genesis. Use them.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I've never played it on the Super Nintendo, so do they utilize all the buttons on the Super Nintendo?
Right. Could be.
Yeah.
Let's
I'll have to
see.
throw it in. I do have it.
And then on Instagram, we got Ty Gaming and Collection says, played it this weekend, beat it with save states using Captain America. I think if we didn't just play Streets of Rage 2, I would have thought of this to be a great game, but the hitbox detection on this game was really unforgiving. Overall, it wasn't a bad game, but I feel like the Streets of Rage just did it better when it came to Genesis side-scrolling beat 'em ups.
Good call.
That is, yeah.
Absolutely. I agree completely.
Yeah.
Instead of doing them, the beat 'em ups back to back, this way you have the comparison. So fortunately, I have to do that on there.
100-hour RPG. Let's do a 100-hour RPG next.
Well, we're gonna get we have a good one for this week. So next week's game is going to be Super Metroid on the Super Nintendo. So
Nice.
pull the game out. I know we should have a good time with it. I will tell you guys this. I've never played the game, so this is going to be a new experience for me.
Me either, but it sounds super.
You guys are killing me. Neither you played Super
right?
Metroid.
I heard it's on a Super console too.
Oh, super duper.
Super duper console.
So have a super weekend with Super Metroid.
There we go. All right.
All right, guys. So with that, we're gonna move into the segment of Name That Quote. This week I am going to test Russ and Keith's knowledge, and there is how should I put it? There's a theme this week.
We're good. We're keeping with a theme every week, right?
We got a little intro there.
Oh, I thought we were going into. Okay, here we go.
All
There's a
right.
little theme this week.
Throw the intro up there.
Hey, I bet you can't name that quote.
Okay, so we got a little bit of a theme this week. So once you guys can figure out the theme, I'm going to tell you this. I started out fairly easy, but the third one is extremely difficult.
We should switch it up 1 week, and the first one should be 5 out of 5, and then it gets easier.
Okay. Well, this is going to go easy to hard.
You keep saying that this is going to be an easy one. Your definition of easy is different than mine, for sure.
You guys have been doing pretty well. I mean, you guys have been getting 2 out of 3, so I'm proud of you just from that. So
it definitely helps with the voice, like when we hear that too. So
for sure. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Number 1. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Sure, the blackout was a big problem for everybody. I was trapped in an elevator for 2 hours and I had to make the whole time. But I don't blame them, because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
I didn't get it till the end.
Right. Here's the thing, guys. I'm trying to find these quotes that will I'm throwing a bone to you, to like that should be a trigger that you should be able to get it. What are you thinking? Russ, do you know?
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember the either the actor or character's name.
Okay. All right. What about you, Keith? How you feeling?
Nope. Not a clue.
Nothing.
Nope. I got nothing.
Okay.
Trying to think
Okay.
of what movie someone would have turned into a dog in.
Okay. Okay. I'll just stand right here, guys.
You want me to play it?
Go
Maybe
ahead, play it. Play the clip.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, I don't think it's fair to call my clients fraud. Okay, so the blackout was a big problem for everybody, okay? I was stuck in an elevator for 2 hours and I had to make the whole time. But I don't blame them. 'Cause one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Any ideas?
Keith's lost.
The audio would have given it to me if you hadn't given me
Okay.
the clue. And it's
Okay.
the second one, right?
Yes. Shout
We're
it out,
talking.
Keith.
What is it, Russ?
Ghostbusters. Dose.
2.
Ghost.
The second one.
Do you know the name of the character?
Well, Christ. It's slipping
Is
my
he
mind.
The keymaster, or is he the gatekeeper?
He is the keymaster.
I can't think of it. No. I'm
He
letting
is
people down.
Louis Tully.
Okay.
And do you know the name of the actor?
It's on the tip of my tongue. I know he's in Honey,
Okay.
I Shrunk the Kids and a whole
Okay.
bunch of everything. He stepped back from acting. I know
Yeah.
that
Right,
he
correct.
appeared
Yep,
and
yep,
everything.
yep. It was Rick Moranis.
Rick
Yeah.
Moranis. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Dave,
Okay.
Also, Dave is wearing a Ghostbusters t-shirt for those who are just listening, so that was part of the clue.
All right. So here we go. Number 2, guys. You ready? Let's go. So the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the stupidest combination I've ever heard in my life. That's the kind of thing an idiot would have on his luggage.
Come on, Keith.
Nope.
I was almost going to say something prior to this that would have led
Okay.
to this, but
Okay, this is 3 out of 5 that I gave it.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's
I
hear
know
it.
I know the character's name, at least in this one.
Okay.
There we
Okay.
go. Audio
All right.
clip.
So the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life. That's the kind of thing an idiot would have on his luggage.
No, nothing, Keith.
Nothing,
No, it's there, but it's
you're gonna
not
feel
there.
stupid.
I do already feel stupid.
What is the name of the character?
Oh, the character? Lord Helmet.
Yes.
Spaceballs. Also, Rick Moranis plays that role.
Yeah.
Are we catching a theme here, guys?
Yeah, it's ones that I can't guess right away.
There's another theme.
We'll come
All right,
full circle on the
all
third
right,
one here.
so here we go. So this one I gave 5-star rating in
It's going to be a deep
difficulty.
cut.
It is a deep cut. It is a deep cut. With
Okay.
baseball season, my favorite time of year, I figured I'd throw this one in there.
Okay.
You ready?
All right.
The Padres play the Mets every so often, though you folks would probably be Yankees fans. It's been my experience that the most organized crime people are. Name the actor.
John Travolta.
I mean, if we're sticking with the theme, it would be Rick Moranis.
Correct. We have
Wonderful.
gotten the theme of tonight's Name That Quote. So now it's just a matter of figuring out the movie
Well, obviously,
in which Rick Moranis
was in.
It is a deep cut. That's why I did rate it 5, because I know I've seen this movie. I'm not 100% certain that you guys have seen this movie.
And I don't
It
think
is
the
from,
audio quote won't help us with the
I will
movie.
tell you, it
right?
is from 1990.
Oh, okay. I was it might be a little earlier, like
Yeah,
early 80s or 70s or something. No. Okay.
yeah. So you want to play the clip?
Padres play the Mets every so often, you know. So you folks would probably be Yankees fans. It's been my experience the most organized crime people are.
So 1990s baseball movie.
No. I will tell you, it is not a baseball movie.
Oh.
But in the quote, he does say,
About
"It's been my experience that most organized crime people are."
I feel like I've
Keith
seen
almost
this
had
one, but
something.
I feel like I've seen it, but I'm never gonna guess it. I'm gonna get 0 this week. It's a big old goose
sorry.
egg for me.
Hey, you got
Goose egg.
Right, so
Ghostbusters. You're good.
I
You're good.
guess.
Okay,
Yeah.
you
I have
guys give
no.
up?
Yeah, I give up.
Okay. His name was Barney, and he was talking to Steve Martin's character in My Blue Heaven.
Not ringing a
You
bell.
guys
Nope, don't think I've seen that
no,
one. Nope.
No.
that's why I gave it a 5. The one thing that I will say
Gonna
about
have to
these
watch it.
quotes, what I really like, and we listened to all the audio, dude, he had such a range of characters.
Right?
I mean, the reason that Rick Moranis got brought up this week for me is because my daughter we watched 2 Rick Moranis movies this week. And I was like, wow, he's got like a lot of range. We watched Ghostbusters 2, and then we watched Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And it was, dude was great. So he was also in another, I was trying to get a quote also from Little Shop of Horrors,
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
yeah.
what I was thinking
Yeah,
it was gonna
there.
be.
but that was more of a musical. So there wasn't really a whole lot,
Yeah.
interesting stuff. So sorry, guys. I will give you I'll give you 2 out of 3 because Russ, you guys got the first one, Russ got the second one. So
And I felt ridiculous I didn't get the second one now.
no, you guys are good. So, Rick Moranis. I don't know why I'm frozen, but we're gonna move on. There we go.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, we're switching it up this week, guys. I would like to bring you new ideas, new segments, try new stuff out here at the weekly Warp Pipe. So we're gonna try this new segment for this week called the Vintage Toy Box. Jess, I was here. Vintage Toy Box.
It's our first week.
It's our
We're
first
okay.
week. Yeah. I mean, I got an intro that kind of explains to it, and then we'll let you guys know what we're dealing with this week. Here we go. Man, toys from back in the day were just awesome. We had the best time going to the store and picking one out and coming home and playing with it. Join us while we go back and give you a brief history, personal connection, pop culture impact, and value when we dive into the Vintage Toy Box.
Action figures each sold separately from Mattel.
Heck yeah.
Very nice.
Vintage Toy Box. What are we getting into this
Oh.
week, Keith?
This week we're gonna look at Mad Balls. So we're going to these were these weird, gross out, these totally awesome rubber balls that took the playgrounds by storm in the 80s. I mean, I got a couple of them. Who didn't love tossing those around? Maybe even getting a little trouble for bringing those ones to school sometimes.
Let's see here.
So
Mad
Mad Balls, I don't know if you guys know this, but they were released in 1985. They were an AM toy, which was a division of American Greetings, which is weird in itself, because it's the same company behind Care Bears, also Strawberry Shortcake. Um, and given how gross these things were, the origin story behind this is where the Mad Balls had their very first appearance. And it's a really interesting. I just found out about it maybe a couple of months ago, and uh, excuse me, the original first appearance of the Mad Balls was the Care Bears comic book issue number 13. So that is the first time anyone ever saw the Mad Balls. They were designed by James Groman, who he wanted to create something offbeat, something rebellious, something to get you in trouble at school. Each ball had a unique, a grotesque design. Screaming Mimi, Slobulus, Hornhead, those are like some of the more popular, well-known characters. I actually have these. I know the audio listeners can't see this, but if you're watching on Spotify, you can still watch the video. So I got a Slobulus here. This is the Kid Robot version that came out in the mid 2010s. This is a Screamin' Mimi. And actually, funny story is I also the marketing behind this stuff was crazy too. Um, they had, like, this is a basketball I found of Slobulus, and um, this is actually the newest Slobulus that just came out. This was a Walmart exclusive. They Walmart just put out these new ones, and the interesting thing about these is here's a screaming Mimi. They have hair.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Does he have a wig on? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have hair, so they're kind of like redefining them. Um, they are not. I'm gonna. People may hate me for this, but these new ones are trash. I'm just gonna
okay,
say it straight up. You see how these ones are like, typically the Mad Balls are molded, and they're kind of shaped
yeah,
to the ball themselves. Here's like the Slobulus one where you can see like the eye actually popping out, all that
right.
stuff.
Stitches or like three
Yeah, this one
dimensional.
is actually like it's molded, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you could tell, but it's literally just printed on it. And
Oh,
so
okay.
it's not
Hmm.
not as good. Um, they were marketed as like the gross out answer to all of those, like, you know, cuddly type type of dolls.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
maybe like a Cabbage Patch Kid or something like that, which they had their own gross out version in the Garbage Pail Kids.
Right.
So
The response to that, essentially.
so it was all during that time. So um, they also had a lot of knockoffs. So this is an Argentina knockoff of, you could see it's like Slobulus.
Similar, yeah, with the green and like eye
Yeah.
coming
All
out.
right.
A
Yep.
little smaller.
Yep. And typically the Mad Balls were foam, and this one's a rubber ball.
Oh, okay.
As a matter of fact, I own some knockoff Mad Balls that have a squeaker in it, and
Hmm.
because they have a squeaker in it, actually, I think this one is a squeaker. Yes. So this knockoff from Argentina. It's got a little squeaker in it, and the packaging on this, they marketed these as dog toys.
Oh, yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, I could see it if it's got the
So,
squeaker.
Yep.
yeah, pretty interesting. But yeah, man, there's so many different types of things. They got the head popper figurines. This one is of Lock Lips, and this is my original one from as a child. But yeah, super super fun.
I was gonna say Dave probably covered most of this here, but I was gonna ask, like, did we have these growing up? If anyone had personal stories, did you bring them to school, maybe, or actually annoy a sibling with it? Since like viewing the commercials and stuff, that's kind of like what it was. And if you had a favorite one, if we didn't have one, was there one that maybe you saw seeing the commercials? Like, oh, I'd like to own that one. Like that one looked
Hmm.
really cool. Dave certainly has a good connection with this, but Keith,
No
it
doubt.
also be interesting to see since you're in Canada. Was there marketing for Mad Balls over there?
There was. I had the one that's just the eyeball. I'm not sure, Dave, maybe you know what that one's called for me, but that's the one that I had. And there was a ton of marketing for these, including some over the top TV commercials with slime explosion and like screaming kids. So that like
Mm,
typical 80s look to it. Yeah, I had that guy there. I feel like he
That
was
one's
really
cool.
squishy. I remember him being like really squishy. I think I had two of those
yeah.
actually.
Well, they were made out of foam, so they
Yeah.
were relatively squishy. That's
No,
Oculus
absolutely.
Orbis.
Oculus Orbis. Well, I had Oculus Orbis, and like Dave, you showed us there that basketball. Like they had a ton of
Yeah.
other merchandise, like stickers, comic books, lunch
Oh
boxes,
yeah.
Halloween
Actually.
masks.
Oh
And
wow,
am I right? They
Halloween
had there
mask.
was a short-lived cartoon series with them.
Mm.
Is that
Yeah, so my brother actually had one of the masks. I actually talked to him earlier this week to see if he still had it, and he did not. So he doesn't know where
nice?
it is. But I also have this from my childhood, which is a activity book.
Okay,
So inside it's got like all of these. like Madball puzzles, which is very cool.
That's cool.
Okay,
You
like
got
mazes and stuff.
mazes and crosswords and all,
Connect
like
the
oh
dots.
actually yeah this one we filled out as a kid.
A little crossword puzzle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little crossword puzzle. There's also this is I know guys, I have all the Madball stuff.
No doubt. You're
This is
set up.
yeah, this is a foil balloon that
Oh,
has just still in the package.
how would
So
you fill that up?
what do you mean?
Like, wouldn't you have to put that on like a helium thing to fill that up,
Yes,
right?
it's a helium balloon. Yes, for sure.
You'd probably
And
buy it
then
in store and they'd
obviously,
fill it there.
Maybe.
oh yeah, you'd have to bring it to a store, yeah, or you
Yeah.
can buy those
Back then.
tanks for your house, yeah. Well, back then, yeah.
Yeah.
You might have bought them at the store, and maybe they blew them up in the store, and then those just got out.
Yeah.
They had the 9. There were so funny story. I just found out about these. There was only 9 issues of the comic book.
Oh, so easy to
Yeah,
track down all of
it's
them.
Yeah.
pretty
Do a
easy
complete set.
to check.
I feel like there was a lot of that stuff back then where it was like really short-lived comic book series. These ones had
Mhm,
like a whole bunch. You were talking about the knockoffs, right? That kind of gross out era of toys with the weird balls, the blurt balls. I think
mhm.
those are pretty cool looking too, right?
Yeah.
Spitballs,
Yep.
Rude, Ralph's, all the sports fair, all that kind of interesting stuff. This is seeing a few revivals too, like you were saying, 2000s, 2010s, and even
Yeah.
today, there's still
Mhm.
more of these coming out. So they must
They're
have
still around.
had a real cultural impact for us, right?
Yeah, I actually
What's
have
the value on stuff like that,
I mean,
David?
Hmm.
the value is pretty good, to be honest with you. It's, I would say on average, a Madball, like a vintage Madball, can probably start around $50 if it's in decent condition.
Hmm.
I've seen some go well over 100. I actually do have unopened packs of these are Weird Ball trading cards,
Okay.
and I actually have the whole set.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I sleeved these up recently,
Hmm.
for the podcast, so they look nice. But yeah, like Keith said, there's the blurp balls, the and I feel like going to toy shows because I've been going to a lot of toy shows lately.
Yeah.
They're they're kind of like on a trajectory up. I feel like they're having another revival from in the vintage toy market.
I saw Pixel Dan looking at a couple blurt balls in one of his last videos. Those are pretty cool looking.
That's right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
he's been posting about those as well.
Yeah.
I was going to say
But
the one that I picked up recently, maybe like 2 years ago, was this guy, the snake one.
do you
Well,
still
that's
have it?
cool.
I do. I don't know where it currently is. I was going to grab it for tonight's
Mhm.
episode, but in talks of that, I do have one where our buddy Tom Bowman from Bull Airs, who sponsors the podcast, shout out to him.
Right.
He's been doing similar to Mad Balls is these guys here. This is 8-bit Jason he did, and it's squishy just like a Mad Ball, and he's got like
Yeah.
a machete on his head
Hmm.
and some stitching right there. So he's been doing these he's calling them sneaker heads, and
Mhm.
I've ordered a few of these. I did he did some Back to the Future ones. He's got some Mickey Mouse ones, so he's getting like pretty good themes with them. I don't know if I think Dave, you got maybe one of them of like the bull that
Yeah,
he
I have
did.
the bull right here. This is the I still have this one packaged. I have 2 of them, but here's his packaging for it so you can see, um,
Yeah,
this thing
sneaker
looks so
heads instead
good.
of Mad
Got
Balls, but
some
Right.
similar
Really
cool
good.
concept
colors to it,
essentially.
eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes.
Like
And
the going
honestly,
across
like
the back.
I'm going to tell you guys, as for listeners of the podcast, as well as for Bull Airs as a sponsor, these are very inexpensive. He only charges like $15 a pop for these, and they're well worth it. They're really good on the shelf, and they're really, I mean, Russ could attest to this. Like they're really good quality too.
And my daughter's come into the room plenty of times and has grabbing this, and I was like, oh god, she's gonna like bite it or drool on it or whatever. And
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
right.
it's held up, and I said they're nice and squishy. It doesn't squeak
Yeah,
or anything, but he's
no,
got
Yeah.
that branding right there. Bull Airs just printed on there, but the detail on it is very cool, and so it's
yeah,
it's cool that, people are reviving that. You see them in the stores as well, but to Dave's testament, they're not as the quality right
No,
there.
no.
And it's like, I wonder who they're marketing to, right? We're the ones that remember Mad Balls, so we're going
Right.
to expect
Right.
that quality, or at least the size. They're also smaller, right, than they used to
Yes.
be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, kids nowadays, I don't think are going to jump in on these. I don't know, maybe.
No. And if they're
I
gonna
will.
do all that detail work, like, I don't know, why put the hair on there? That just seems gimmicky to
Mhm.
have that on there. Like, I think it would have been cooler that when you got in your hand there, David, to have it, the baseball guy, to not have that hair on there,
Right.
maybe.
What's really cool about I will. I'll. I'll add this though. What I do like about this is it does come in this case and it unscrews, so you can actually have like a little display piece
Right. That
and
is
they
a
could
cool.
stand.
Yeah.
It almost I don't know if you guys remember these, but it reminds me of Germs. Do you guys ever
No.
remember Germs? They were a toy
No.
in the 90s. They're basically in a test tube, and they're rubber germs. So they're
Hmm.
little action figures that just sit in a tube, and they would market them as different. There they are. So they're so it reminds me of that. You see how they stand up in the test tube.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, these only cost about I want to say they were like less than $6.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hmm.
So they weren't very
Yeah.
expensive at all. And actually I do own the they were Walmart exclusive, and one day there was like 5 left on the shelf. So I asked the lady, I said, "Hey, can I if I buy all 5, can I just take the display with it?" And so I was able to grab the display piece that's sitting over there in the game room. So
Okay.
yeah,
Nice.
pretty cool. But tons of bootlegs exist. There's monster balls. There's we talked about the weird balls. That's kind of like, I wouldn't call it a bootleg, but it is a knockoff. Um, but yeah, and they're still so much fun. I mean, I'm going to toy shows constantly trying to find them and collect more of them. So
Nice.
pretty neat.
What do you got, Keith? So you grab something.
You're gonna
Did you
have
find some?
to you're gonna have to continue a little bit on your little thing here, and then
Oh
we'll
yeah.
maybe show this off.
All right, we're wrapping
Okay.
up with our final verdict on these here. Do Mad Balls still hold up for today? Yeah, I say they're still pretty awesome at that price point. You get them for $6 at the store. For the newer ones, that's cool, and the
Hmm.
old ones absolutely hold up. Like, look awesome on the shelf, fun to
Oh
play
yeah.
with for sure. And then next week's toy, maybe we can gross you guys out with something different. We kind of want to try to keep this going each week and maybe do a different toy or something, and
There you go.
maybe something similar like Boglins.
Something like
Yep.
Boglands, maybe? This is the re-release. These are the new one of the
Hmm.
because they did a Kickstarter, so this is one of
Yes.
those, but Boglands are creepy and awesome for sure. They're
Yeah,
Yes,
hand
for
puppets,
sure.
right? Moving the
Yep.
eyes around. So
Yep.
cool.
sweet. So yeah, if you guys have any topics you want us to jump in on the vintage toy box, this will be a segment kind of in and out on the weekly War Pipe, kind of discussing retro toys from the past, maybe like some board games too. And I mean, it could
Hmm.
even be a video games because that kind
Yeah.
of counts as a toy as well.
And we want to know what you guys think, the listeners, of Madball. So leave some comments
Yeah.
in the comment section. Reach out and let us know what you think of Madballs.
All right. Getting into our main topic here. David kind of jumped this on us and said, we should do this one. Why do we still play retro games in 2025?
I have no idea.
There's plenty of new games coming out. Certainly there's a lot of new games I will say that are retro inspired, right? They
Hmm.
kind of look like a Super Nintendo game, and I feel like a lot of people are leaning into that. But, I'm live streaming every week playing some NES games or Super Nintendo. And again, we have our Warpipe
rental series on here. So that's also us playing some retro games, and we kind of want to dive in. We'll discuss why we do, and we'll get some input from you guys as
Mm.
well. I know there's plenty of comments, you guys jumping in on this topic here.
What I want to know why Russ chooses retro games, because he has built his entire. I mean, Keith, you too, but Russ has been at this for like 14 years on YouTube. I want to know what keeps Russ going with retro games after all this time on YouTube and having a Mario Kart, and
Right.
I mean all of it. I need to know.
Yeah, where does that love come from, right? Is
Mm.
it
And how is it
nostalgia
still
based?
here?
Yeah,
Mm.
got a good
It's
question for you.
certainly, I mean, I feel like a lot of it dives back to obviously growing up with the Nintendo. And I grew up when my parents divorced. So on weekends, I'd go to my dad's. He had the Nintendo there. So the ritual would be Friday, go to my dad's. We go to the video rental store. He'd rent some movies. I'd get an NES game. And that weekend, I'd play that, maybe catch some of the horror movie he was watching and be scared. So it kind of dives maybe bringing me back to that time,
Mm.
spending time with my dad, playing NES, kind of having that connection there. Because I definitely remember getting the NES and playing like Mario for the first time, and going to the stores and seeing the games like Funko Land,
Mhm.
and I feel like growing up with the Nintendo, every store was carrying NES games. You go to like Rent a Center and they'd have NES games. You go to
Mhm.
Stop and Shop or the grocery store, they'd have a rental place to rent NES games. It was just
Mhm.
like such a big thing. And being, I guess, a kid growing up with that, you wouldn't have a lot of, I guess, expendable income to get all these NES games, right? Maybe you get one for your birthday, one for
Mhm.
Christmas, maybe
Right.
a good report card, right? So what are you getting? 3 games a year, and so
Mhm.
many are coming out. Then Super Nintendo will come out. So I feel here now we're in 2025, right? There's still good amount of retro games I haven't played, I haven't
Yeah.
touched. And now it's just easier to obtain those via either, emulation, maybe getting the uh, mini consoles that have the games preloaded on there. And you're like, oh, I never got to play Earthbound or
Mm.
Star Fox 2 or something like that. So you're still experiencing new retro games that you haven't played, essentially new to you, even though the games still are came out in the 80s and 90s.
Mm.
Like that's the thing, right? Is I feel like the era that we grew up in, because I just did do a video talking about the commercials that were kind of coming at us during that console war era. I feel like even if we weren't realizing it in the time, between the toys, the video games, we were inundated with that getting pushed on us. Like everything was pressuring us to get our parents to buy those toys or video games. There's a lot of the back of comic books we were reading, you know, wanting to have Nintendo Powers, TV, all that stuff always had a game or something like that that you hadn't played before.
Mhm.
So when I'm looking at games and I'm in a retro store at a convention and I see a game that I remember seeing an advertisement for or something like
Mhm,
that, I feel like I didn't get to play it back then because, like you said, there was they were everywhere, right? And I mean, there's 768, 766 or whatever Nintendo games alone. Like, there's a lot of games that we didn't get to play back then that maybe we wanted to, or even games that we rented and don't even really remember renting and playing. So that nostalgia for me when I rent a or I pick up a game that
mhm,
I've seen before or
mhm,
played before, I think that's what keeps me interested in wanting to play the games in
Mm.
2025, right?
Right.
And like you're saying, Russ, like that nostalgia, I can remember buying our first Nintendo. I can remember where we bought it. It's like a medical clinic now. If I stood in that building, I would know right where I was standing when me and my dad bought that Nintendo for the very first time. So having those memories and being taken back to those moments just from the audio in a game, music, or playing that moment and remembering that time. Like nostalgia is a big factor. And some of the games, like they're pretty awesome still. Like look at some of the Mario games. I can play those all day long. They still hold up today, right? So,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of my thoughts.
I remember when we got our first when we got our Nintendo, we got the power set with the power pad. And I still remember to this day, we got it for Christmas. My dad, we had to like clean up or something. And while we were cleaning up, my dad was down in the basement setting it up. And like I had mentioned this previously on the podcast, like my dad doesn't play video games. The one game he played was the F1 race.
Mhm.
But I remember we had to, me, my brother, and my sister, we had to clean up. And then we were able to go downstairs and play the games. We only had the 3 games. But that night, the first game we ever played was World Class Track Meet with the power pad. That's what we did. My dad set it up. He set it up. It was all
Okay.
set up by the time we went downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did like the tournament and all that stuff. And I still remember we got to the last guy and we just couldn't quite beat the last guy. But then I do remember the next day, I believe my dad went to work. My brother, sister, and I, we went back downstairs and we played the Duck Hunt. And then we played Super Mario Brothers for the first time all together. So for me, I mean, retro games in 2025. I mean, guys, it's pure nostalgia, right? I mean, you get to sit in front. I mean, I still play mine on my CRT,
Okay.
and I could just sit down, pop in a game. I have my Genesis setup. I have my Nintendo. My original, not my original NES. My original NES is actually on my shelf back here, so I do still have it. But I do have my NES set up, and I do pull out games like as much as I can. Like,
Mhm.
right, we're all adults now. We have jobs. We have families. We have responsibilities.
Right.
But it's just that nostalgia factor where you sit down in front of the TV and you could just become immersed, and then just remember all of those memories and just bring yourself back to childhood. And like we all want to stay young, right? We all want to be able to you know um I
Relive
don't know,
that like past essentially. Yeah. It
for
seems like we're all
sure.
we're all pulling from the same
Yeah.
experience where
Yeah.
putting in that NES cart and playing it, you're like,
Hmm.
I do remember renting this from Blockbuster Video or
Right.
mom and pop shop, and it's just kind of bringing back, I don't know, a better time, so to say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
and
more
and
simpler
now
time of childhood.
for
Right.
sure. And now with Russ and myself, like my daughter has begun to play these
Hmm.
retro games, which
Right.
is we're just we're we're teaching a new generation of how great these games are, and she gets
Right.
into it. I was saying on the last episode, we've been playing through Shredder's Revenge, which is kind of like a throwback. You know, she plays this arcade cabinet, the Turtles arcade cabinet, and loves it. And she comes down here all the time and asks if we can play the games. She'll come down and just kind of like do this, and no, not say a word, but she knows I know what that means. Um, but it's super fun, and to be able to do that now with her, um, that's an added element. So, you know, but I mean, in the end, it's pure nostalgia, right? We all want to just
Which
relive our childhood memories.
is I guess a little scary when you when you drill down on some of these thoughts, right? So my nephew reached out to me a couple months ago. He's 18, 19 now. So he's got a job, his first kind of income coming in,
Hmm.
and he sees me collecting games from my childhood. So he
Hmm.
wanted to collect games for that nostalgia factor from him. for him at that age, the nostalgia factor comes from the Wii. He remembers playing Wii games with
Okay.
his sister and his
Mhm.
mom and stuff like that. So he's looking at those games and wanting to collect those. So that's just going to continue, right? But what happens when those generations get to the point where the kids now,
Mhm.
I guess we're kind of already maybe answered that if you have maybe the right parents involved. Kids
Mhm.
now are playing games that are all digital download.
Okay.
There's no
Yeah.
Right.
physical
Right.
copy. When those
Right.
kids get to that point, when they've got that first taste for, I want to have that nostalgia. I really want to play that game that I played with my dad,
Okay.
and it's
Right.
all digital. Are they going to actually be able to experience that? So I
Mm.
think it's good you guys are, you know, involving your kids in something that is physical that they can
Yeah.
go and look at, right? That is kind of
Mhm.
scary to think.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to be those poor kids that, the PlayStation store shuts down eventually, and 20 years from now, they can't
Right.
play that game that they're missing and want to have that nostalgic moment for it, to remember,
Mm.
their parents or something like that. A little
And it
scary to think
is
about,
it
actually.
is a generation thing because my brother just uh Santa Claus just brought a Switch to my nephew, and I was picking out games for my nephew for Christmas, and I asked my brother because I said, well, you can do a card and you can get the digital version, or you can get the physical. It's going to cost the exact same amount, which is still in my mind blows my mind, because you're not getting something physical.
Right. Should
But
be cheap.
even right,
Right.
and he himself was like, and it kind of took me, and like my brother doesn't really play video games, um, but he has the memories of it and he has the nostalgia. I mean, I was the gamer in my family, I believe anyway, and for my brother to say to me, "No, I really like having the physical copy of it." That kind of sparked a little bit of nostalgia as well. Just by him mentioning it was
Mhm.
like it took me back for a second with him to when we used to experience it as kids.
Right.
So because he doesn't play
Yeah.
now and I don't really hear about video games too much from him, like that was a really nice thing too. So but I just had this conversation with my wife the other day because Russ had messaged us and was asking about naming uh the toy segment.
Oh,
And I was sitting there thinking about it and came to the conclusion that in the toy uh scene, I guess, they call it vintage toys. They don't call it retro toys. They call it vintage toys. And I said, "Well, what's the difference here? Why are we calling vintage toys and why are we calling these retro games?" And it's basically because of the time frame. So, the point I'm getting at here, Keith, is did you say it was your nephew that's getting into
Yeah.
it, or
Yeah.
yeah, your nephew, his Wii games are his retro games.
Yeah.
So they are still retro to him,
mhm.
Yeah.
just
Exactly.
with the age range. So when we say why do we play retro games in 2025, it just doesn't mean NES or Super
No.
Nintendo
Exactly.
or any of that. It means like whatever our generation remembers as our retro game.
Right? Depending on where you are in that generational space, right? Because
Mhm.
even
Right.
there's a lot of other YouTubers that the three of us being very like all the same age,
Right.
might
Right.
have 5 or 10 years on, right? Those guys are collected. You see them all, they're all collecting GameCube because that's the games they remember from their
Right.
childhood.
Right.
Or,
Right.
N64. Oh, I had
N64.
that. My dad got me that. It's just,
Hmm.
10 years spread, right? So,
Right.
like I said, what's going to happen when we get far enough out that there isn't anything to hold on to and find? A little scary.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Getting deep there, Keith.
Right?
Well, let me
More-
ask you guys a question. Are there any retro games that you find yourself a more connection to, or something that you end up going back to more frequently than other games?
could be like comfort games. Like
Yeah,
Keith
yeah.
was mentioned, obviously the Marios, right? 1, 2, and 3. You
Yeah.
played them
Okay.
so much growing up. If you don't know what game to play, you're like, well, pop in Mario 3. Like I can play that for
Mhm.
20 minutes and feel accomplished and get some
And
cool
even
power
people
ups.
that aren't gamers are gonna have a memory of Mario, probably the first one or something like that, if they're in this generational
Right.
age, right? Like even people that weren't playing video games are like, "Oh, I remember that one. I remember seeing that one or playing it at my uncle's. He had it, right? Something like that."
Mhm.
I think it's probably a comfort game for a lot of people. One of those three of the Mario games,
Right.
right? Because they were so relevant at the time.
Mm. I will say
Yeah,
I
for me.
appreciate. Oh, you go ahead, Dave. I'll keep
Oh,
butchering
no,
you,
it's
but
okay. For me, like, so when I collect my games, like, I have a big NES collection. Obviously, let's call it as it is. We all don't play all of our games, okay? A lot of us are shelf collectors. I'm guilty of that as well. I'm sure a lot of people are. But I do play a good majority of them, right? But as as a collector too, I only have CIB games for the games that I grew up with, that I have a connection to, that I own or have that connection to. So, for me, I look at my shelf over there, I literally have them all lined up. And, games like DuckTales or Super C or, Super Mario Brothers 3, like those are the games that kind of resonate with me. And those are games that to this day, I mean, was it like 30 years later, 35 years later, you could still just
Yeah.
pop in and just and still enjoy it. Like those games still hold up.
yeah,
A
yeah,
lot of, there's a lot of shovelware out there on, later. I mean, there's shovelware. I mean, they don't
everywhere.
call it
Yeah,
shovelware from NES, but like, let's face it, there's a lot of trash out there as well.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring the point that a lot of the games on NES or our retro games like that we're playing easily you can put in and play for 10 minutes and get something out of it or beat the game within an hour or two, right? I feel like with
Hmm.
the newer generation games, there's no way you can do that. Like you're charging 60,
Oh,
$70 for new gen games. You don't
hmm.
want it done in an hour, right? You got to have
Right.
that content. So it takes hours and hours to put
Right.
into it. So I definitely balance my retro gameplay to because I have a PS5, right? And I've been playing some of that. I dived into Silent Hill 2. They did a remake and I sunk 45, 50 hours into that. But it's great to take a break and just play 2 hours of something on NES. Or even I played PS2. I beat the Silent Hill 2 remake. I had
Hmm.
the urge to go back and I played it on PS2. I had never beaten it or played it on PS2. PS2 is retro now, right? It's pretty old.
Yeah.
And I went back and played it, and that got me into, you know what, I want to play it, but I want it to be best quality I can get it to be. So I ended
Hmm.
up purchasing a upscaler, RetroTink 5X, is the upscaler that I got, and you're able to plug in different connections into it. And then I got good cables to plug into your PlayStation. I ended up actually purchasing the PlayStation made PlayStation branded component cables, right? So you got the red, blue, green for your audio stuff or video and all that. So it's a clearer connection. But the company HD Retrovision has been putting out these high quality cables as well, but they had been sold out. So I said,
Hmm.
let me grab these retro cables, and when they get back in stock, I'll get the other ones. But played through all of Silent Hill 2, and I was kind of on a PlayStation 2 kick for a few weeks with a
Hmm.
lot of my live streams. I do live stream every Wednesday, 8 o'clock for 2 hours before we record this podcast, and it's majority retro games. Most people want to see me play retro games. So I was playing a lot of PS2. That was kind of October time, so we were sticking with that horror theme. So I did Silent Hill 2. I played another game called Extermination, which takes place in Antarctica and has a horror aspect very similar to like Resident Evil, Dino Crisis, and all that. So it was neat to go back and you're like, oh, tank controls, right? It's like stiff and like
Yeah.
it almost I almost liked it because it added to the scare factor because you like panic and you again. I went back and I played the original Silent Hill on PlayStation 1. And
Mhm.
it's been years since I played it, and I did a video, 20 years later, does this game still hold up? And
Mhm.
I had a good time going through that one as well. So I've been on like the Silent Hill kick now, so I picked up a few more of the games, but certainly it's cool to go back and enjoy the games and put my time in because, like we said, we couldn't own all these games growing up because
Right.
it cost a lot of money. Now we're adults, we got our own money, can purchase as many retro games as we want. The big factor I think with all of us is finding the time, right? Dividing that time up. How much time do I spend with retro games, doing other projects, maybe filming YouTube videos, or do I spend time doing modern games and stuff? So all of us seem to at least fit in some time for the retro games, right?
Yeah, I would say a
Yeah.
majority of the time. I don't play that many modern. I don't have I the last PlayStation. I have a PlayStation 3, and the only reason I had a PlayStation 3, I did have a few games for it, but the reason I purchased it because it was the cheapest Blu-ray on the market
Hmm.
at the time that it got released. So I bought it for the Blu-ray player. I didn't buy it as a system. But I ended up getting a few games and I played some games here and there. And um, I'm a Nintendo guy, so I just had, other than my Sega Genesis, I never had a Super Nintendo. I was just all Nintendo, so I play my Switch. Um, and the fact that they make those retro style games, I gravitate to those a little bit more just because of the graphics and the gameplay
Right.
aesthetics and everything like that. Maybe you could say it's what we're used to, but actually with you, Russ, um, did you play the Silent Hill? Did you play any of those Silent Hills on the PS4 or the PS5 version?
Um, no, no. So I played
Oh, you did not.
Silent Hill 2 on PlayStation 2, and then I did the
Okay.
remake, but I did get
I was just wondering if that was a case of you played the updated version. So you played an updated version on PS3?
so this
Um,
one I'm showing on PS3 Silent Hill HD collection came out, which
mhm,
has Silent Hill 2 on it, which I already played,
mhm,
but it has Silent Hill 3. And the only reason I purchased this is because Silent Hill 3 on PS2 is like $150 game.
yeah,
And I bought this brand new on Amazon for like 30 bucks. And it
right.
has Silent Hill 2 and 3. So that's how I'm
Nice.
going to play Silent Hill 3. Although a lot of people are like, it's not the best version, voice acting's weird. And it's like, hey, for 30 bucks, I'll enjoy the
Right,
story and then I'll
right.
move on. Unfortunately, them being uh what was say the survival horror, any survival horror stuff on PS2, very expensive. And I'm not gonna sink
Yeah.
$150 on a game. I'll do 30 bucks, sure.
I was just curious if you have any experience, or maybe Keith, if you have any experience playing a retro game that was remastered. Uh, and when I say remastered, like it's a carbon copy of, but in a modern version. And do you have a preference of, do you prefer the modern version or the retro original version? Maybe with Metroid Prime. I don't
I
know.
Now I did play a little bit. They redid those remasters of like the original Final Fantasy games, and they came out on the PlayStation. So like that's still retro, reviving retro,
Okay.
I guess, right?
Sure, sure.
Stuff like
Like these
that.
ones.
We're playing those ones and wanting to play the original instead.
Okay.
Mm,
I don't know why.
okay,
I was connected to the original, and so when I started playing that, I was like, "Man, I really wanna get the Super Nintendo version of this and play it again," right?
okay.
Hmm.
So,
So then we're talking about more of a straight up connection that we have to
yeah,
these retro games as well, because even though they're making
nostalgia,
modern
right?
versions of them, um, we still do prefer the retro versions of them. we just had a big impact growing up, as Keith was saying about all of the, the magazine ads. I
Right.
mean, we didn't have internet as kids, right?
Exactly.
So, like, the only way we got our information was from Nintendo Power, was in comic books, as for advertising, commercials on
TV commercials
Nickelodeon or whatever, and,
that
we don't have
were
I mean
creative too. I had a comment on that video that I did about, showing these retro commercials,
mhm,
and the comment was TV commercials or gameplay trailers or game trailers on the internet, which kind of I think they're referring which one would you prefer?
I
okay.
see. I see.
And when I thought about it, I was like, what's a game? What when you see a game trailer on the internet now, what is it? It's just a bunch of footage of
Right.
the game, right? It's cutscenes,
Right.
footage of
Mhm.
gameplay.
Mm,
When you think about a TV commercial for a game back in the day, how creative that was, right?
Oh,
To
yeah.
yeah.
grab it. It
Yeah.
wasn't just strictly gameplay. It was like, oh,
Mhm.
check out Mario and his new adventure. And it's got claymation or whatever, and all this stuff
Right.
happening, right? So, like, that's what we were getting hit with all the time. So that
Mm.
nostalgia is gonna be there when you really think about it, right?
Mhm.
I mean, we
Just
had also
we're waiting in
cartoons.
it.
We had
Yep.
comic books based on our video games,
Captain N.
for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and actually, we also had what I don't know if you guys remember these. Actually, I believe Russ has a couple. Um, we have these, and I used to rent them too. VHS tapes of like the tips and tricks.
Tips and tricks videos. You could find
Yeah,
them on YouTube if you search
yeah,
Nintendo VHS tips and tricks, and it's like the best, like bad, like but nostalgic. Like they're showing gameplay footage, and a guy's like, it's like Legend of Zelda or something. And he's like, place the bomb here and enter
Yeah,
in to get a
right,
rupee. And you're like,
yeah,
yeah, like everyone freaking knows that. But it's like, you would have got this at the rental store and thought you were like hot stuff. You're like, I know the
right.
freaking tips and tricks and
yeah.
NES and them.
We
Rolling
also
into the
used to get.
playground, ready to tell everybody,
Right, right,
right?
right.
And speaking of rolling into the playground, we also got manuals that maybe we brought to school with us, reading through like the Legend of Zelda manual and reading the story about it. And, we had all of that kind of physical copies of everything that we got to experience. And there you go. How to win at
Right,
Nintendo games.
right. Like you could go and probably get this from the library or
Hmm.
go at the book fair, right? And you grab it like,
Right.
oh, it tells me how to beat Bayou Billy. Mom, can I buy this, please? And then you took
Yeah.
this home and you had it in your hand and you got to read it on the school bus, right? Go
Right,
through
right.
it and figure out how you're gonna do this.
And it was exciting
It's
too when like even a commercial popped up, because now kids we could just pop up YouTube, right?
Right,
right.
right.
Search for any game, look up a trailer, look up gameplay, whatever. But like
I mean,
it was
two of
so
us here
scarce.
do that, right? Like, you could just look us up
It's
and it will
true.
show you
That's
this
true.
game, and you can
Yeah.
know what this thing is. Like, you weren't sitting there waiting for it to come, right?
Well, I'm
Right.
curious too how, like Keith said, with his nephew playing his Wii as retro games, so he's in a different whole, like, where he's pulling it back. It wasn't like was for Nintendo, right? For us, there wasn't. I guess still you could get Nintendo Power with Wii stuff, so maybe he has a
Yeah,
tie to Nintendo Power. But as for
Right.
like commercials, I guess there's still a few like I remember we would like to play a
Yeah.
few of
Hmm.
those. So that maybe Wii is like, because I don't think I remember seeing any real Switch commercials on TV other than on
that
YouTube, right?
that might be right there before that, everyone was watching television, cable or whatever, even
Right.
satellite
Right.
TV, right? From like, we might have landed right there where, yeah, you were seeing commercials on TV, and after that everyone's got Netflix or Prime Video or Disney
Right. So now
Plus,
you
right?
don't get
With
those.
no commercials. Well, there's
Well,
commercials, but they're
so
not what
I
we're
do I do still have live TV. I have Hulu Live,
Okay.
yeah.
and I will still see Switch commercials.
Okay.
Hmm.
but I don't see Xbox or PlayStation. So I think Nintendo is still in that kind of like marketing towards kids. So I
Yeah.
think they're still at it. So I don't think anything has really changed with Nintendo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what you guys had to say. We reached out to you guys on our social media. Again, if you're not following us, we have an Instagram that we're pretty active on. You can look at the YouTube community page, and we also have a Facebook group as well.
What did you say? What did you say?
Springfield, let's hear from you.
Let's see, we'll jump over to Facebook here. Hey, you want to grab these, Keith? I'll zoom in for you.
Yeah, if I can see him here.
If you can't, I'll just read them. I forgot to get you.
Yeah,
in.
maybe you can read them for me.
Fair enough. We got Jason Hartley says, I enjoy my retro games as my real life job is pretty stressful. So when I get off work and take care of my dad duties, I can sit down and relax to the memories of when life was not so stressful. Good points for sure. Ryan says, I enjoy collecting and playing retro video games. As I am older, I now have this thing called disposable income and used it to collect retro video games and accessories. There are so many video games I didn't get to experience as a kid. I'm working on playing these games now. Again, I feel like that would be a reoccurring theme here where we have um, our own money and you're like, hey, I didn't get these as a kid. Gonna buy them now. And there's so many. Like I'm doing a series on my channel called Nintendo, where I want to play every Nintendo game. And even if I did a video a week, this series would last like 5 years because of how many games there are. And that's not even me playing Sega games, Super Nintendo games. Like, we really gotta double down on it. All right, YouTube community page. We got a bunch of comments on here, guys. So appreciate you jumping in here. We got Mike saying nostalgia for sure, but it's a great way to remember a simpler time when we didn't have the stress of life. Another bald nerd. Love the name. Nostalgia is a powerful thing for me, and I imagine for many people. It brings us back to a simpler time when we were younger and we can escape, if just for a moment, and forget all about our adult world problems and just have some simple old fashioned fun. I also enjoy showing my kids what I played when I was their age and younger, and it's fun reliving and sharing those experiences with them. NES Addict says, sounds like another great topic. You can expect another call. So he'll chime in on the voicemail section. Retroholic16, what up, guys? Hope you guys are doing well. Just wanted to say thank you for all your hard work you guys put into the podcast and post. Thank you. For me, I play and collect them just to get a little dose of nostalgia and a small escape from how hectic work and parenting, etc. can be. Going to my game room on a Saturday, just even for an hour or two, is a nice little rest from all the stress or reset from all the stress. Definitely seeing a repeating factor here on a lot of these comments where it's
Absolutely.
like the nostalgia, just a little bit of like, remember that time that was stress free, maybe when you're a child.
So the definition of nostalgia I did pull up because I can see this is a sentimental longing or wistful affection for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. That is the definition of nostalgia, which totally makes sense for what people are saying, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right, let's see. I got a few more here. Steve V's Man Cave or Steve versus Man Cave Arcade. Nostalgia again. Yeah. As a kid, so many key memories were made playing these games. To get a little piece of that in 2025 just brings back so much joy. Not only do I think it's great times I had in the past, I'm also making new memories with my kids. River City Ransom, because it reminds me of a simpler times we used to have. It slightly brings us back temporarily to a mindset where we never had any other worries than, dang it, I'm going to be able to beat this game before taking it back to Blockbuster. And I'll pay a lot of money to continue having those memories. Mike Bomb, making sure I'm still good at some. That's true. Yeah, you can't get rusty. Also, revisiting games that I wasn't able to beat when I was younger or play games for the first time. Nostalgia is used factor as well. We got Nexus. I play retro games in 2025 because I'm 42. I can't be asked to invest 160 hours into one amazing game. I just do not have the time. Simpler retro games could be deceivingly complex with only 4 or 6 buttons, which makes them easier to get into control wise.
Hmm.
Some can be completed in 30 minutes or less, but are no less fun for it. And at 42, that's all I need sometimes. Punch a couple dudes in the face in River City Ransom, try to beat my high score in Tetris, or burn rubber until I'm on the side of the road and outrun. Good times. Plus, there's no DLC. You get the whole game in this day and age of a digital consumption. And then my buddy Colby from Purge and Splurge Thrifting. For me, it's because deep down, in my opinion, I personally prefer them to new games. The nostalgia and feeling I would get from going to our local KB, toy store, or Toys R Us to buy that new Nintendo game for a birthday or a special occasion was epic back then. I remember those times like they were yesterday. Made it even more special. Gameplay was more simple. You can even play a game and beat it in one sitting. These days, I don't have the time to commit 200 hours into a Zelda game. Sorry, Dave.
Was that directed towards me? Hey, man, I'll take my Sheikah slate and go home.
Dave, just to call Dave out, Dave beat Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, completed it, then played it on the Switch and beat it once again. He enjoyed the game. What can we say?
I do enjoy the game.
Finishing up Kobe's here. Now, don't get me wrong. I do like modern games, but definitely play about 80 to 85% retro and 15 to 20% modern. I enjoy my Switch very much, but I'll never stop collecting playing retro. The feeling I get when I add to my collection or found something I've always wanted and couldn't have as a kid. Can't compare it to picking up the newest video game at your local GameStop or Walmart. Just fails to compare. Game chasing for retro is a passion I won't give up. I look forward to every flea market, tag sale, thrift shop, etc. in search of that next great retro game find. Cheers! Fantastic. Those are some great comments for sure. And
Lots of
like I
great
said,
ones.
repeating factor of nostalgia, time, right? All these news games, we mentioned that the new games could take hours.
Yep.
There's very few that I'll sink that much time into, and never alone like 100% them. A lot of people are like trophy hunting and all this with the new games, and I'm like, we're limited time. If unless I'm staying up past my bedtime to play some of the games, I only have a few hours when the baby's napping, or at night. Every Wednesday, like I said, I'm streaming, so I'm just designated 2 hours to that, and it's usually just one game. Can we beat this game on stream? Not playing a whole bunch, or maybe I have to. Me and Keith could probably test this if we're making a video. We got to get gameplay footage or research, and then we're playing retro games essentially to get that information. All right, what do we want to we want to jump on voicemails, or where we
Yeah,
at?
let's
135.
hear some
let's do
voicemails. What
it.
do you got? How many do we got?
We got a few on there. Oh, we
Nice.
want to say
Oh, yeah, we do have
Oh,
something to
right.
revisit. Yes.
We do.
Jay did leave a voicemail last week, and I had not watched the Jurassic Park trailer. So before we started the podcast, we all watched the new Jurassic Park trailer, so we could give you
Together.
our thoughts.
We watched
on
it together.
I didn't want to play it, so I get like flagged or whatever. But initial thoughts: New Jurassic Park. I forgot what it's called. New Era.
I think
or
it's
something.
Rebirth.
Rebirth.
Yeah.
Rebirth.
Yeah.
Yeah. With Scarlett Johansson and some other guys.
Ross, what are your thoughts?
I was confused at first where it was sitting with the timeline, or if it took place like after these new movies because you got your 3 original and then you got the ones with Chris Pratt as well. And I was like, is it taking place after that? Does all that still exist? What happened? So I was a little shaky on that. It does look pretty interesting and cool. Like I like a lot of the shots of them on the island. There was, I don't know, just more cinematic to me. I don't know. It looked different than what the Chris Pratt movies, I guess, were doing. I don't know how to explain that, but it definitely looked interesting. Like I would watch it, whether they're going to try to do a trilogy out of this. And again, it's like, who are you reaching for the audience? Are you trying to attract the people that like the original ones, or maybe both the original and the Chris Pratt versions? I didn't get to see the last Chris Pratt one, right? That came out. I missed that one. I believe he was in that one. Whatever the last one that came out, I didn't see that one.
I didn't see it either. So
Oh, okay.
don't come over here asking me questions about it because I have no idea.
I did, but it was. I don't remember. I feel like it was fairly unmemorable. I don't remember it, right?
I don't remember any of them. Oh, well,
Really?
except for
Not
the
even the original?
first 3. I
The
remember
first
the first
3.
I'm
first 3.
only speaking of the Chris Pratt movies. Maybe a
Yeah.
little bit of the first one that they did, just because it was like the reboot of the whole
Yeah.
series. But I mean, this one exists. I mean, they to me, it's just like they just keep pumping them out. I probably won't go to the theater to see it.
Right, right.
Maybe I'll see it when it's on demand or available on one of the streaming services. But it's not something like I personally have. I don't know.
You're not excited for, so to
I'm
say,
not
right?
excited for it. No, I mean, I think I'm gonna say this, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I feel like, and I know it's not related, but I feel like 10 plus years of Marvel movies, I'm kind of like over these like action packed movies where it's
Okay,
just like
okay.
adrenaline and like, not really a lot of story behind it. I don't
Yeah.
think there's going to be like a lot of story. It's going to be more of like keeping away from I mean, granted, that was what the first one was, but even still, like today, I'm kind of, maybe it's all the CGI and all the cinematics and all that stuff. I don't know, man. I'm kind of over all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I can see that.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, Jay.
I will say I'm not a fan of the choice in casting.
Okay.
To have like you just said it, like we've had how many years of Marvel getting almost shoved at us for so long. I feel
Yeah.
like Scarlett Johansson as that character,
Oh,
like
correct.
watching it, I was like, oh, what's the Black Widow doing in Jurassic Park, right? Because I feel like she's typecast to that. So
Right.
I feel like that casting choice, yeah, I get it. She's hot actress right now, like hot, like in the movies, like she's like, yeah,
Go both ways. She's attractive and
but
she's
I don't
tactical.
understand that cast. I guess I don't understand that casting choice. There could have been a
She sells
better.
tickets.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
that's the reason, right? That's 100% the
Yeah.
reason.
Right.
Worth it
But
or
does
not,
she
I don't know.
though? Does she though? How did Black Widow do? Honestly, guys.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's my thought right off the knee-jerk reaction is, I'll probably watch it just to watch it 'cause it's a Jurassic Park movie. But,
Yeah.
I don't know
I
what
mean, I do
casting
find it
choices.
interesting that they're going back like with the rebirth. It's not a rebirth of the Chris Pratt series. It's a rebirth of the original series where what seems from the trailer is that they're on a different island where they maybe harvested the dinosaurs and like these are the dangerous ones that they couldn't bring to the island. But then it's confusing because why are there raptors there and there's raptors at the other one?
I was
So like
confused by that because they were like, "This is where we the most dangerous dinosaurs were. We couldn't
right.
take them." And then it's like instantly in the trailer, "Is that a raptor?"
Right.
Yeah, they were
Right.
over there. They were over here too. Like they're everywhere. If this
Right.
timeline lands, raptors are
Raptors
currently
everywhere.
cruising across Iowa right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so
Good God. All right, let's get to our voicemails, guys. We
Let's
got,
do it.
if you do want to call in, our phone number is 949 682-9277. It's located on all their descriptions and social media. You can leave us a voicemail and we'll play it on the show.
I keep dreaming about my dream phone.
It's for you.
It's for you.
Hey, Weekly Warp Pipe. This is Killer Carp on Instagram. Why do I play retro games in 2025? Because I don't know how to play anything else, quite frankly. The only systems that I have in my house are an SNES and an NES, each hooked up to its own dedicated Sony Trinitron. And yeah, I'm kind of a one-trick pony. My growth stunted after N64, and I never really continued my gaming journey beyond there because I was pretty satisfied with what I had. Some games nowadays, maybe they only serve a purely nostalgic purpose, like Rygar, for instance, or maybe a Ghost and Goblins. You plug it in, you play for a couple minutes, and you're like, yeah, I'm good, cool.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have the timeless classics like the Marios, the Mega Mans, that just never get old because the gameplay is just too good. And of course, Dr. Mario and Tetris, forget about it. It's therapy. You plug it in, you go, you get lost. These are perfect games that just keep giving and giving and giving for the decades and decades and decades. I just hope my systems hold out until I'm old and gray. Thanks, guys.
Excellent. Thanks for calling in for sure. Yeah, and we touched on that. Some of the games you could just pop in and play for a few minutes, get your fix.
What's going on, everyone? D-Nick55 here, your number one fan. Loving the podcast so far. Retro games in 2025. Why do I still play them? Why do I collect? Answer simple, man. It's the core memories.
Yep.
It's the feeling of bringing you back to a certain time in your life when things were simpler, things were not as complicated or crazy as they are today as an adult, and just remembering the good times you had with your friends and just reliving that little piece. It's the same reason we collect trading cards or collect anything, really, is trying to hold on to that simpler part of life that when things were slow. So playing retro video games in 2025, creating those core memories and reliving the past.
Nice.
Wouldn't have it any other way. Until next video, guys. D-Nick55 saying, see you later.
I like how he signs off like he does on YouTube.
Appreciate you calling in. We do have, if you guys want, you can also text the phone number. You don't have to call in. We had a text message come through right here. You want to grab this one, Keith?
Yeah, this one I can see. It says, "Hey, Warp Pipe Podcast, great show. My name is Bryce JW, and I have a question for all you to answer on the show, if y'all would. Next episode, what's y'all's top 3 favorite conventions to go to? Yes, love you, Keith. You're an awesome guy. Glad we were friends. I just wanted to thank you for being so kind and awesome. Thanks for all you do. I also believe in y'all's show. Keep it up." Thanks, Bryce. Bryce is amazing. If you haven't checked out Bryce JW on YouTube, check him out. He does a lot of live streams. Definitely worth checking out. So, top 3 conventions. Are we answering that right now?
I mean, we gotta do it for Bryce, right?
Right. Absolutely, we do. All right, Russ, give us your number 3 convention.
In order? We gotta do these in order.
Yeah,
Oh, geez, man.
I'm coming around the horn. Prepare yourself, David.
Oh, wow.
Coming around the horn. Number 3, Russ.
no.
I'll say I'll go Too Many Games Expo, number 3. It's kind of close. It's maybe a 3 or 4 hour drive. It's growing every year. Lots of panels to do, lots of guests there, huge vendor floor. Just keeps growing. It's a good time. Are you go 3 or am I just going bing, bing, bing?
David, number 3.
Okay.
All right, my number 3 is I almost forgot about Too Many Games, but Too Many Games I went to last year, and it is just not the same when me and Russ used to go in like 2015 to 2017, around that. For my number 3, I'm gonna go with, and Russ, can you remind me the name of this? Because I don't really, I think it's is it Retro Game Con in New York?
Syracuse, New York. Yeah.
Yes, I would go Retro Game Con in Syracuse, New York would be my number 3. Um, just because I mean it was a great time when we went. It's huge. There's a lot of really great vendors. Great people are up there. We got to hang out with a lot of our friends. Uh, and yeah, it was just in a nice area too. So we got to kind of do a lot of things around that area. So the 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 guy who runs it, oh my god, why is his name escaping me? Save me.
Patrick.
Patrick. Sorry, Patrick. I see him at every con too, so I apologize. Super great guy. He always hooks us up, and he puts on a really great show, and it gets bigger and bigger every year. So that would be my number 3.
All right, my number 3, and Rick's probably gonna kill me, but it's probably gonna be Retrofest Arkansas. I think would be my number 3. It was great. It was Rick's first convention this year, and he did an amazing job. But that was a great place to go. My other 2 are just gonna be sorry, Rick. They're gonna be a little bit better. Right, Russ. What's your number 2?
Listen, and wait a minute, hold on. Here, no disrespect to Rick. Russ and I have not been there yet, and he's only done it 1 year.
Yeah.
So we got some time. He's working his way up.
I'm coming off the fact that I set the tables up for that. I held all the stuff from the store over, and I took all the tables down with Ben. So, Rick, that makes you number 3 just for that. Russ, what's number 2?
Number 2. I almost feel bad for having too many games as my number 3 because then Dave brought. Honestly, I haven't been to it the past 3 or 4 years, so I don't know if it's declined down or this and that. So I was like, oh shoot, and there's so many good conventions getting put on the spot. Number 2.
Yeah, but you haven't been there in a while, so like that's what your memory is of it. So that counts.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Jeez, there's so many to choose from.
I know,
I'll go
Bryce
with
really got us.
because you're gonna make people upset if you don't choose the right convention, right? I'm
I mean,
on the
it's our-
fence with my number 2 here. It's our list or whatever.
opinion.
All
It's
right,
our
I will
list.
throw out there SoCal Gaming Expo.
Okay.
I went last year. It was their first year under new management, and I thought the venue was good, and they did a great job of organizing. A lot of great vendors, skateboard ramp, live music while people were skating. Tetris World Championship was there. Um, Overall, great time for sure.
Mhm. I
Okay,
have
number
not
2.
been there yet, so I can't make a comment about it, but I hope to make it out there very soon. My number 2 is going to be Retro World Expo.
Okay.
And that is based on it's very close to home. A lot of friends come in from out of state. We get to hang out all day long in like Russ and I's like home state. We know the area. There's some just really great people that run it. Chris, Lance, um, uh, and now this year it's going to be Riff and Ricky doing that as well. So I feel like there's a lot of room to grow with it, and it keeps getting bigger every year. And I think that this year especially is going to be really special. So I'm gonna give my guy Chris a shout out on that and Lance and say Retro World Expo.
All right. Now I haven't been to that one. I'm gonna go this year, so that might change this in the future. But my number 2 is gonna be Southeast Game Exchange Siege. Like it was huge last year, and there was so many awesome people there. I had a blast at just the volume of games because it's like just games. Every booth is games. You can find anything you're looking for. So number 2 for me is going to be Siege. I think.
Okay.
Russ, what's your number 1?
Gosh.
Number 1.
I'll get murdered. Definitely torn between 2.
Oh, so wait a minute. Hold on.
Okay.
So wait. So you're torn between 2, which means your number 1. If you're torn between 2, now your number 2 goes to number 4.
And there was even an honorable mention. I didn't get the. I was like, oh, I haven't been there. It's like that most people don't go to. I feel like in a retro gaming scene.
I think I know what your number one is.
I haven't decided which way to go.
I think I know what you're choosing between.
I'm leaning towards Portland Retro Gaming Expo.
Mm-hmm.
I've obviously been to every Retro World Expo since the beginning, so it was great to see it grow. But then flying out to the West Coast for like the first time and going to the convention, I was like blown away at the scale of it, the amount of like YouTubers that I had watched like on YouTube that like came out to that show. Being able to get like press passes to it was awesome, and the staff was like so kind to me, and a few of the people that then there I got to hang out with in the overall environment. I don't know if it's just a West Coast thing. Could be because of SoCal was similar vibe. But I haven't been in 2 years, but when I went, it was a good time. They had the Blockbuster World Championship there, which was awesome, and I did a video on that. And they had the last Blockbuster, Bend, Oregon, is where the last Blockbuster was. They were there and set up, and I went with Steph and Gwen went. So
right,
definitely have some good memories there with that.
I will say that I remember when Russ went out there for the first time, and ever since Russ went out there for the first time, I could tell that is his favorite. He has a lot of good things to say about it. He has so much fun whenever he goes. So, Russ, I think that was a good choice for number one. My number one choice, and we've only unfortunately been able to go here one time, and hopefully this year will change. I'm going Southeast Game Exchange. And it's got to be for the reason, too, that we get to hang out with Jay, the NES addict. And there's just like, it's just a good vibe the whole weekend. Like, we did so much stuff. Like, not in addition to the con itself, the con is awesome. But like, so many people came out to it that we got to hang out with afterwards at Jay's house, like wherever. But like, going out to all the dinners, and
right.
I think it's more of like it's more of it's more than a con, in my opinion, because like the whole weekend is just a great gathering of all of our friends from all over the country that, because it's a little bit down south, we're getting people from like kind of up north and down south and even the West Coast because, I don't know why, but it's just, I hope to come back because I hear it's just, especially from Keith saying it's getting better and better every year. And I
awesome.
want to go back. I just have very fond memories of that first time we went. Russ and I would drive 13 plus hours in the car to head down there. We would leave at like 9 o'clock at night and drive straight overnight. So like that too, it's just the whole process of getting down there, coming back home, and the whole weekend. So
absolutely
siege for me.
My number one is going to be SoCal, and based on the same type of thing you're talking about, because SoCal being there, getting to hang out with the guys. Me and Russ went to Rose Bowl Flea Market with Rick and the guys. I went to flea market with the boys after, and it was just so friendly. Like you said, Russ, it was so friendly. Everyone was so inviting. And yeah, it was
good location too, because we walked to get like dinner like right across the street, and it was like perfect. I was like, okay, we can just come right back.
Yeah, and just really well done. I thought, like you said,
I hope to make it out there.
Great.
Yeah,
we're doing it. We're doing it.
Okay.
All right, let's see what Jay had to say, because Jay chimed in, I think, on our main topic of why we play retro games.
What's up, weekly War Pipers? It's your boy NES Addict. I just wanted to leave this comment that I saw something funny last week's video that I don't know if anybody else caught, so I wanted to point it out.
Oh, good.
But when you were doing the Wheel of Doom to talk about school lunches, immediately, right after it clicked on
school lunches, there was an ad that popped up in the bottom left-hand corner for bloating gas. And I thought that was hilarious that when you were talking about school lunches, there was an ad for bloating gas.
Good eye.
Anyway, I'm going to send
Definitely what
Russ
it
a
gives
picture of
you.
it via text. So if he wants to put it up on screen, you guys can see what I'm talking about. Anyway, just something funny I noticed that I wanted to share. Love you guys, and I'll be calling in next week with God knows what else. Have a great one.
Just come back. Be number 4, Jay. Come on.
I love how his call is just about bloating gas, not about the topic or anything.
I thought it was going to be
bloating. Yeah.
little Easter egg there for that.
Nice.
And again, if you guys want to call into the show, our phone number, it's kind of listed everywhere, but I'll give it to you right now. Save it in your phone. It's 949-682-9277. That's 949-682-WARP. You can text as well. Like I said, we'll read your text message if you don't feel like calling in. I think we're going to wrap it up, Dave, and remind everyone about the weekly Warp Pipe rental there. What game we're playing.
So this week we are going to be playing Super Metroid on the Super Nintendo. So make sure you guys get your copy, emulate it, whatever you got to do, play it on the computer like Keith, and get it done. And make sure you leave comments on our socials so we can read your thoughts on the show.
Yeah, we'll do a few different posts. Usually we've been trying to post on Friday, letting you know what the game is. But if you're listening to the podcast now, maybe you already know what the game is because we're posting Friday before we have the podcast. But play it, try to get a few hours in. Definitely a fun one for sure, and switching it up from the beat 'em ups from the last 2 weeks. I'll definitely enjoy that. What are we covering next week? You guys are curious? We're going to take our top 5 most expensive games in our collection and see if they're worth that high price. Any games, NES, Super Nintendo, whatever the top 5 are collectively, we'll tell you the prices and then kind of discuss that and see, hey, is it worth that high ticket price? I don't know. Tune in next week for that.
Should be a good one.
If you guys want to follow us, we got a bunch of stuff going on. Keith, where can the listeners find you?
Check me out on YouTube, Retro Cart Collector. Every Sunday morning, there's a new video. And yeah, the next one is going to be, we're going to look at the Game Boy from launch to legacy. So that should be an interesting one. And I just want to say thanks, Bryce, for your text. I'll talk to you soon. Sure, brother.
Excellent. What about you, Dave?
You could check me out mostly on Instagram, David.Apuzzo. Just look right here. See my name. Just put a little period in between the D and the A here. Look me up there, and then you can see me on the Weekly Warp Pipe Instagram as well. Send us some messages if you just want to say hi and leave some comments. And we'll see you on the IG.
On the IG. You got any Whatnot streams coming up or you promote?
You know, I took a little bit of break from Whatnot only because I've been concentrating so much on the podcast. But hopefully within the next few weeks, I'll jump back in and I'll let everyone know. But if you want to follow me on there, you can look me up on Whatnot. It is David Apuzzo Photo. So my name with PHOTO at the end. All
Excellent.
one word.
And yeah, if you guys want to get in on any of the stuff that I'm doing, Russ Lyman's the main YouTube channel. I'll have a new video out this week. 2 videos out of Nintendo series. I'll be playing a new game on Nintendo and putting up a shelf with all my Nintendo games that I'm looking at over there. Tons of stuff there. Follow me on Instagram at Russ Lyman as well. And you can always catch me here every week on the weekly Warp Pipe. We appreciate you guys jumping in the Warp Pipe with us. And we'll see you on the next level.